I'm just gonna be honest up front. I don't know how to start this. I just wanted to talk about this, and it took me a long time to commit to making this video because I kept thinking I'll do it later. Because I wanted to have a bigger platform, more people to talk to before I talked about something like this, or I wanted to wait until Suicide Awareness Month to talk about, but that's silly. And I really had it brought up to me in a conversation yesterday about how important this stuff is and how this needs to be talked about more. I don't like the term normalizing because it's so cliche and overused, but I do want to talk about my experience with depression, with suicidal thoughts and tendencies, and with mental health and illness and all of that. Um, and I want to talk about some solutions and some things that help me through it because I want to both. I want to make this video to help people, people that are going through it, or people that know somebody who's going through it, or maybe don't but just want to know more about it. Um, because I think it's really important to talk about stuff like this, and I think it's silly to not talk about it more often because I think as much as culture has been designed recently to fight the stigma of it, there still is so much of one. Like I said, I was scared to make this video for some reason for a while, like just judgment, or people would think it was silly, or I wouldn't know what to say. And before I do say anything, I do want to say, obviously, I don't know entirely what I'm talking about. This is based on my personal experiences and my understanding of this extremely complicated subject, so take everything I say with a whole pile of salt. I want to help anybody that I can help, but I also don't want anybody to blindly take my advice if you don't think that it's right. But I do want to try to help. So I'm hoping that people who will have just randomly searched up keywords and will find this video, because I know when I was suicidal and I was depressed when I was younger, I did stuff like that too. And I found that some videos I watched helped and some didn't help at all. So I would like to add to the videos that are helping people rather than, I don't know, hurting or not doing anything at all. I think a lot of times when people are seeking help for depression, there's a lot of stuff that people say out there that just irks you or rubs you the wrong way because you don't understand depression unless you've been through it. You don't understand mental illness unless you've experienced it yourself. And anything else sounds cliche and fake. And you experience that a lot when you go through it. So I do want to say to anybody who doesn't know, I've experienced it a lot throughout my life. I've had depression as long as I can remember. I think probably there was a brief time when I was really young that I didn't experience that. I know it definitely got worse when, middle school came around, and then it never really went away. And so um, I'm just saying this so that you know that I know where you're at. I know what you've been through. So for me, I have depression. I have bipolar. My depression is chronic, but I have also dealt with situational depression on top of it. I've been suicidal. I've attempted suicide multiple times, uh, from high school to college to after college. In my adult life, it's been something that I've never fully gotten over, but it's something that I've um, learned to manage a little bit better. And so I want to say that I understand. I understand where you're coming from if you've dealt with any of this. I also want to validate anybody who's coming from any one of these backgrounds because I've also experienced a lot of backlash from people who, for some reason, there's a weird community around mental health and mental illness where it's competitive in a way, where some people won't take other people's struggles seriously because it's not bad enough or it doesn't seem like it's bad. I've never been or if I was very briefly, somebody that is very open with my depression. I've never really worn it on my sleeve. I've always tried to come across as a happier person, or at least a normal person. And I've had, I was going to say friends. I don't classify them as friends anymore. But I've had people essentially say that I was just making it up, and I was just using it to get attention from people, which wasn't true. And saying stuff like that is extremely harmful to people, and I've heard that multiple times throughout my life. So I don't want to say that to anybody. I know there are people out there that do fake tendencies, do fake symptoms in order to get attention. We don't need to talk about them. I'm talking to you about your issue, and you know whether or not your issue is valid. And I'm saying I'm validating your issue. Your depression also, like I said, there's multiple versions of depression. There's chronic depression, which can be split into multiple categories of something that's genetic or something based in trauma. There's also seasonal depression, where just some times of year you get more depressed, and that could be due to the literal seasons, or it could be due to trauma of some memory or something related to a season triggering it every year. Or it could be situational, and that could mean a lot of things. Maybe somebody you know has died. Maybe you were hurt by somebody. Maybe you broke up with somebody. And going into a deep depression because of one of those things isn't any less valid than a chronic or a genetic thing that makes you depressed. Just because you can recover from it doesn't mean it's less impactful to you. There's still people that have killed themselves because they were broken up with, or because a relative died. That is extremely valid. So I want to validate all of that. And why I'm bringing that up also is, I think a big key in tackling all of these things is educating yourself and studying yourself to find out what is the issue, because different issues require different solutions. So just because something worked for one situation doesn't mean it will work for the other situation. And so that's where I can say I have been through, I am dealing with chronic depression. I've also dealt with situational depression, and I know that different things work for one and not the other. So I want to give some advice, but ultimately you have to know yourself. You have to talk to yourself. You have to figure it out on your own, what will and won't work for you, because I can't necessarily tell you what's going to work. I'm trying to offer advice, but I'm also here just as importantly to say that you matter. Oftentimes there's a connection between depression and you thinking that you don't matter, and that's why you're depressed. And so a lot of people, they try to make their lives focused on other people. Like, I won't kill myself because of so and so. I don't want to upset so and so. And if that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. I've been there. But that's not something. That's not an answer for seasonal depression. That's not really something that you want to use as an excuse for that. So like I'm saying, there's different answers for different problems. And I also don't want you to just stay there. If you need to use that, like I've used that. I have used multiple people in my life that I love as reasons not to kill myself. And that's a great thing. But I think more importantly, if you can get to the point of loving yourself actually and not wanting to kill yourself, that is a much more powerful thing. That is a much more lasting effect as well. But I think you need to have reasonable goals in there, because if you just say, oh, well, I'm going to write this solution off entirely because it's not the right one, then if you try to do something else, it's like anything in life. If you set the bar too high for just to start, like as a get-go, you'll give up. So set the bar wherever you need it to be and work from there. As an analogy, let's say you just started working out. You're not going to set day one, I'm going to do 100 push-ups. I'm going to do 100 push-ups every day because that's what my friend does. So I'm going to start doing that. No, you've never worked out before in your life. Start with, I don't know, 10, 5, whatever is a workout for you. Start there and work up gradually. I think that's an extremely healthy way of working through things. For me, I have somewhat of an eating disorder. I don't want to blow it out of proportion, but I eat a lot because I'm depressed. It's not like a chronic thing. It's just I know that eating helps me feel better, so I do it. And when I eat too much, then I hate my self-image. I hate what I look like, so then that actually feeds into the depression more. So for a long time, I would not eat a lot. I would really focus on the dieting and the exercise and stuff, and my mental health would deteriorate in the meantime because I'm focusing all on the physical and not on the mental. Over the past few years, I've actually allowed myself to eat just whatever I want and not work out that much. I was still active a little bit, but I wasn't focusing on that. I was focusing on my mental health, and so I put the physical health aside for the time being. Now, more recently, I've been in a place where I felt capable of working on my physical health as well simultaneously. But that's where I'm saying you need to gauge your own abilities and what will stretch you, what will make you work a little harder, but is still something attainable. And a really big thing that I've done like that in my life is when working through suicidal desires. I wanted to kill myself because I was really, really exhausted. The idea of living exhausted me when I thought of living another year, another decade, another whatever. Just the strain it put on me to promise somebody that was asking me, don't kill yourself, please don't kill yourself, live for me or live for whatever. It was too much to promise because it was so exhausting. But what I found was I could promise a day. I could promise myself a day. I could promise them a day. I could say, all right, I won't kill myself today. And then the next day, you promise it again. The next day, you promise it again. And then I was able to, from there, increase that into a week. And say, all right, I won't kill myself this week. I won't kill myself this week. And then you can turn that into a month or a year. And then you're giving yourself buffer time. Or even, if I'm being honest, for a long time, and I guess still vaguely I think of this now, I say I won't do it yet. It's a mind game that you're playing. It really is, because you're fighting your mind. So you have to use tricks on your mind sometimes. That at least I did. This is where it comes into play, where I say don't take everything I say as a fact, because this worked for me and this has worked for people I know, but it might not work for you. But for me, the biggest relief I ever experienced, one of the biggest moments in combating and overcoming my depression, was the moment I realized I could say out loud to somebody, I'm going to kill myself. I will. But I'll do it later. And you don't even have to set up a timetable for it. I stopped doing that. I just kept saying, oh, I'll do it eventually. And it was such a relief. It was. Because when you want to kill yourself, and it's the same with anything you want to do, when you want to do something, being told you can't do it makes it a million times harder. And so when you want to kill yourself, every day you're being told by either yourself or somebody, don't do it, don't do it, you're not allowed, don't do it. Just breathing a sigh of relief of saying, I'm allowed to, I will do it eventually, just not right now. And then, honestly, you eventually, at least for me, the desire is quelled a bit. And a little bit more. Over years, it's been a process of years for me. But it's worked a lot. So that's why I say attainable goals are extremely important, because maybe me asking you to not kill yourself ever sounds hard. It sounds really hard. But what if you just promise me to not kill yourself today? And then, how about tomorrow? You don't have to come back here. You just talk to yourself about it. And promise yourself tomorrow not to kill yourself tomorrow. And then you may be thinking, your brain may work like this, where you go, well, Simon, that's the same thing. If I just keep promising every day, that's the same thing. Well, this can be a secret. Your brain doesn't have to know. Just, they don't have to know. You can cut them out. This is a conversation between us or a conversation between you and you. Your brain doesn't need to know. I don't know if that works for everybody. That works for me. And I think part of that is me being able to diagnose my depression. And yes, my depression is a part of me because it is in my brain. It is part of how I function. It is part of the person that I am. But I think of it similarly to a cancer. If I had cancer, it would be part of my body. But I don't talk to it like it's part of me. I'm not like, come on, cancer, we're gonna work on this together. We're gonna beat this cancer together. No, I treat the depression in my brain like it's an invading enemy. Because it is. It may be part of me, but I don't trust it. I don't think highly of it. I don't fetishize it like a lot of people do in society where depression or suicide is a cool thing. Which is another thing that you need to get out of the way right now. If you're thinking that, it doesn't make you cool. And I know that it's really appealing, the idea of, oh, well, when I die, everybody will then think the best of me that they've ever thought. They will cry. They'll say they'll say nice things about me. Those people love you just as much when you're alive. They may not realize it, but they do. And dying won't make them love you more. They'll just realize that they miss you. So instead of killing yourself, why don't you tell them you love them? Why don't you tell them how you feel? And maybe talk to them. Because if they love you now. You don't have to die for them to love you. They still love you while you're alive. And they would much rather prefer you alive. And now you may also be thinking, nobody cares. Nobody would care if I died. Well, everybody has somebody that cares about them. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. When Hitler died, when Hitler killed himself, somebody was upset. Somebody got sad about that. And you're not Hitler. You're much better. I guarantee that too. I don't need to know you to know that. You may have your flaws. So do I. Nobody's perfect. We're all imperfect. And that's why we need these attainable goals to become better. But that's also why you don't have to worry about not being perfect, because nobody else is. Going back to something I said briefly earlier, you need to talk to people about this. You need to talk through it with people. Now, that's another thing that can be really, really daunting to some. It's daunting to me, especially before I ever did it, was talking to a therapist. And I really do recommend talking to a professional if you can. But you don't have to start there. You can talk to somebody you know and trust first. You can talk to a friend. You can talk to a family member. You can talk to a pastor if you're religious. You can talk to somebody. I don't know. If you've got online friends, that makes it even easier. People that you've never met in person, but you know you can talk to about stuff. Just whatever is the first easiest step. I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm saying it's the easiest step. Take that first step. And maybe that can lead to you talking to a therapist eventually. But maybe not. Maybe you don't need to. Also, talk to yourself. If a friend of yours came to you and said, I hate myself, would you say, yeah, well, you deserve it. You probably did something to deserve it. You know yourself better than anybody, so I guess you must hate yourself for a good reason. No, you'd say, why are you saying that? Why are you saying that? You don't hate yourself. I love you. Why do you hate yourself? And I think asking the why is a really important question, especially if you're going to talk to yourself like this. Talk to yourself like you talk to a friend. You find out so much, because if you're talking to somebody, whether it's a therapist or a friend, you're a lot more likely to lie, because you might be ashamed. It might be too hard to explain, whatever. But if you're talking out loud to yourself, it's a lot easier to tell the truth, because you already know the truth. At least you know the facts. You might not have put it together, but if you ask yourself, I do this all the time. I say I hate myself a lot. It's like a nervous tic. Not that I have Tourette's or anything. It's something that I do when I just I get flustered or frustrated or something. I hate myself. And that became a conversation starter with myself. Now whenever that happens and I'm alone, I audibly have a conversation with myself where I ask myself, why do you hate yourself? And 99.9999% of the time, it's for a really, really pointless, stupid reason. It's like, oh, well, I just cut that guy off in traffic behind me, and now I feel like I ruined his day, and I feel awful about it. Okay, well, Imagine your friend said that to you. What would your reaction be? Like, why? Why do you care? Why do you hate yourself because of that? Yeah, you don't want to ruin a guy's day, but have you ever been cut off in traffic? How long did you care about that? Either you got over it immediately because you could tell, oh, they didn't do it on purpose, or you were kind of mad about it for an hour, maybe? Maybe a day. If you had a really bad day and that started it or it finished it, you were mad for a full day about it. Who cares? So why do I worry so much about every person I've ever cut off? All right, I'm going really far with this cutting off analogy, but like, you get the idea. The things that we say I hate myself about are such the dumbest things most of the time. Like, how often do we sit or lay in bed looking at the ceiling and go, I hate myself, and the reason is something stupid you did in the 6th grade. Okay. Now, take that stupid, embarrassing thing that you did in the 6th grade, and apply that to a conversation you have now with your friend. Oh, I hate myself. Why? Well, when I was in the 6th grade, I really liked a girl, and I didn't know how to talk to her, so I just kind of followed her around and didn't say anything, and so she thought I was creepy and weird and made fun of me, so I really hate myself. That's funny. That's not even a reason to hate yourself. That's a funny, cute story to talk about a socially awkward 6th grader that I was. Now that you've had that conversation, it doesn't seem so bad, right? At least it doesn't to me. So I know that it's very, very important to talk to other people, but I've had just as much, if not more, success in talking and therapizing myself, having therapy sessions with myself as anybody else. And the great thing about that is you have unlimited time to do that. You can talk to yourself whenever. You don't have to worry about booking an appointment. You don't have to worry about waiting until the session. You don't have to worry, like I said, about lying or anything. You can tell yourself everything at any time. Now, there is still reason to go to a professional, like I said. There's only so much you know. There may be situations where you need a professional to tell you something. They may be able to give you insight on something or lead you in a direction that you wouldn't lead yourself because you don't know. That is a possibility, and so I'm still suggesting that if you can do that. I know not everybody can, not everybody has the money, not everybody has the ability, whatever the reason. I know not everybody can, but I do suggest that if you can do it, that you do. But I think talking to yourself honestly is a key part of that, because you can still lie to yourself, but if you talk to yourself honestly, that is extremely beneficial. Don't worry about looking crazy. Maybe do it in your car. Drive around in your car, or if you don't drive yet, I don't know, go somewhere private, go to your room. Talk out loud to yourself. Do it in the shower. I don't care. Talk out loud to yourself. Not in your head, not just in your head. Audibly say the words in a conversation, because you will find out the dumbest things about yourself that you never realized before just because you said it out loud. You'll say it out loud and you go, how did I never realize that? I knew it, but I didn't know it until I said it. So talk to yourself. It really does help. But also, like I said, if further steps are necessary, that's completely fine. It doesn't make you less of a person if you have to go to a therapist or if you have to go on medication. There's certain mental illnesses, there's certain mental health situations, and different people handle different things differently. It's okay to go on medication if you need it. There's, I think, even more of a stigma around medication than there is around a therapist. But if you need it, you need it, and that's fine. I mean, if you see people that aren't really there, that's just one example, but if you see people that aren't really there, going to a therapist and talking to somebody probably isn't enough. It's okay to need medication. It's okay to go and get it. It's okay. Now, you do need to go to a psychologist or a therapist or whoever first to get to that point, and you should try every step that you can leading up to that. But that is okay. If you need that, that's okay. I think just as importantly as going to a therapist and having these therapy sessions with yourself is studying yourself, studying what makes you worse or better. And maybe it's just basic maintenance. I know it sounds silly. I know whenever I've been in a particularly bad spiral or maybe just a slump, and somebody asks me, did you get enough sleep? Did you drink enough water? I get furious because I'm like, you're minimizing my issue. You're making it about that. From one depressed person to another, it does matter. Get enough sleep. Drink enough water. Eat the right food. It's basic maintenance. If your car overheats, the engine seizes, goes up in flames, are you going to be mad when the mechanic asks you, why weren't you changing your oil? And you're like, my whole engine blew up and you're going to ask me about my oil. Like, if you don't change your oil, that all of these things could happen. If you're not changing the oil, are you going to be mad when the car breaks down? Take basic precautions. Do the things that you know you need to do. Basic maintenance is important. Like for me, I have stress-induced insomnia, so it's hard for me to get enough sleep. I oftentimes take melatonin because melatonin is non-habit forming and you can't overdose on it or anything. It's a very helpful sleep aid. It's in most off-the-shelf sleep aids out there, if not all of them. I don't know that, but it's in a lot of them. It's pretty easy to get. And so I know a lot of people that use it because it's the safest, most natural way that I'm aware of to get extra sleep when you can't get it normally. But even that has side effects to it. Because if you take melatonin consistently, which sometimes I have to, I try to not take it as much as possible, but I rarely can sleep without it. It does also negatively impact the levels of serotonin in your body, which, in case you don't know, is the hormone that makes you happy. So sometimes I need to know, even though I'm getting enough sleep, even though I'm getting enough water and the right food and exercise and everything, I am not getting enough serotonin because I am cutting off the supply with the melatonin. So realize these things and know that you need to account for them and prioritize which is more important in the moment. Like I was saying, for a long time, I just didn't worry about what I ate. I didn't worry about exercising. I focused on my mental capacity. And now that I know that I'm in a good enough place to worry about it, I am worrying about the physical, because the physical is extremely important too. And I don't want to die young because of a heart attack, or being overweight can affect your moods a lot too. I'm not saying though that you have to worry about everything at once. So prioritize and know which thing is the most important in the moment and put them in that order. Then you can address the things that are most important. And as you get healthier, as you get stronger, as you develop more and know better how to focus on yourself and deal with the correct issues, then you can tackle more of those steps and maybe even eventually be able to take care of all of them, everything on the list. Or maybe not. Maybe you'll never get to that point, and that's fine too. But as long as you're taking care of the most important thing, maybe it's only one thing, but you take care of the most important thing, then you're taking care of that. It's also extremely important to know how your depression or anxiety or whatever it is works, so you can know how to address it. So you're not just prioritizing what is most important to address, you know how to address it. So an example is, for me, my depression spawns from a very hypercritical, analytical view of the world. And I want everything, it probably comes from OCD. I haven't been diagnosed, but I think I am. But I'm not going to claim it because I don't know that. But anyway, I want everything to be perfect, perfectly aligned, perfectly in order. And I look at myself and realize that I'm not. And so that makes me hate myself. So I realize that, and I realize that how I've coped for it in the past hasn't always been healthy, because what I do and what a lot of people do in this frame of mind is that instead of aiming that analytical mind at themselves for once, they aim it at other people. And that is relieving, but you're hurting other people in the process because you're criticizing people. You're telling them all the horrible things about them. And so even though you feel better momentarily, you're making everybody else around you hate themselves. And that's not a good thing. It's not a healthy way of coping. So what I've come up with personally is this channel. It's analyzing movies. I'm obsessed with movies for multiple reasons. One, I love a good movie. It's extremely entertaining, and it is a mental escape. When the movie's good, you get enraptured into the movie and you just think about all the amazing things in this world, or the technical aspects if you care about that, where, oh, that acting is amazing, that directing, that writing, whatever. It is such a great and fun thing to focus on. But if the movie is bad, or if the movie is whatever, it can be good, it can be anywhere in between, it gives me an outlet for my critical thinking, so I'm not thinking about how much I hate myself. I can be thinking about what's wrong with that movie. And that is a perfectly healthy coping mechanism. And the word cope has also a stigma around it too. A lot of these things I'm talking about have stigmas around them unnecessarily. But when coping is often talked about, it's talked about in a negative light. But there is good coping. So another form is a lot of people that are depressed write music or write poems or do express themselves in that way because it's a way to get that negative energy out of them. A lot of people with anger issues, they get into boxing or some sort of working out because they're, instead of hitting a wall, punching through a dresser door or something, they're punching a bag or somebody that is punching them back. Mutually agreeing to do it beforehand, not a fist fight, a boxing match, something like that. Now, I know not every mental illness has a good side that you can flip it, but most of the time, I feel like, or at least a lot of the time, there is an outlet for it. That's why I say study yourself, because I can't tell you what to do. I can only tell you what's worked for me. So what will work for you? Figure it out on your own, because you know you best. You know how you work, or at least if you don't, you can figure it out pretty easily by just asking yourself, watching yourself, taking note of what you do and how you react and think and all of those things. Then you can turn that hopefully into something more productive, or even if it's not productive, at least something not bad. Maybe writing it isn't productive for you, or at least it isn't in your eyes, because you never show it to anybody, you never do anything productive with it, but it is still a good thing because it's taking the negative energy and channeling it into something that helps you feel better, and it's not negatively affecting anybody. So even though nobody ever reads a single one of your poems, or journaling even, you don't have to, if you're not musically gifted or good with words, you can just journal it. That's still a good thing, even if nobody ever reads that. That's fine. I think another really important thing, and this may sound a little contradictory, but like I'm saying, different things work for different people in different situations. I think it is extremely important to make yourself your first priority sometimes, but I think it's also a common symptom in depressed people is that they only think about themselves. Now, not everybody. I don't want to say that's you, because maybe that's not you. I find myself flip-flopping between the two. Either I'm always thinking about myself or I'm not thinking about myself at all. And so I think you need to be able to handle and combat both of those. You need balance. You need priorities. So if you are one of those people that is constantly in a negative mood because you're only focusing on yourself, one of the most beneficial things is to focus on other people. Not in a critical way. This is if you're naturally a helper, or if you're good at helping or fixing. Now, once again, you don't want to take that too far and try to fix somebody that doesn't want to be fixed, doesn't want to be helped, doesn't need your help, didn't ask for it. You can cross a lot of boundaries. I've done that too because I thought I was helping and I wasn't. So keep that in mind. But some people, a lot of people, even if they don't have chronic depression, everybody goes through something. Most people in their life will have a situational depression moment at some point, or something they're dealing with. And so instead of focusing on yourself, you can take time to focus on other people, even if you feel like shit, because honestly, helping other people will make you feel good too. Now, if you're an overthinker like me, then you're thinking, well, I'm not helping them out of the goodness of my heart. I'm helping them just to help myself. If the end result is that you're helping them, you did a good thing, and that's fine. I know you may not always have the most pure of motives, but if you're helping somebody else and helping you, just do it. It's fine. Don't overthink it. Just do it. It's okay. It really is. It's okay. It's not your fault if you're overthinking everything constantly. It's not. That's just how your brain works, and you can work on it, but it's just gonna happen like that. I think also sometimes depression can be rooted in something a little more practical, like a situational thing where your life just isn't interesting to you. You don't enjoy it because there's not much in it to enjoy. And that's where I have the suggestion to a lot of people of do things that excite you if you can. Now, not all of us have the money or the wherewithal or the ability to just spin a globe and point somewhere and, oh, it looks like we're flying to Tahiti this weekend. That's not how it works for most of us. But a lot of us, we can go to the movies, and whatever showing is the first one when we get there, we can just go see that movie, whatever it is. That's a small little thing of adventure to get yourself out of your habits that can be impeding on your growth. And maybe you don't want to do that either. Maybe you are an introvert. Maybe you're like, I don't want to go out and do stuff. I just want to stay home and read a book. Well, maybe go to the park and read a book. Maybe climb a tree and read a book. Don't fall asleep on the tree. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, try food you've never had. Do something. Do an adventure. I know it's like the cliche thing where it's like, basic bitches will go to 7-Eleven at night and say it's an adventure. Yeah, maybe that's all an adventure is to you. That's fine. You don't need to be Frodo. You don't need to go walking across a mountain to get rid of a ring. Like, just do things that excite you. Because oftentimes, depression isn't wanting to die. It's not wanting to live the life that you're living. So do something to make it worth living a little bit more. And they can be small things. This is where the baby steps comes in. This permeates every aspect of my belief system, is start small and work up. It works. It really does. I promise you it does. That's the one thing I can guarantee, is that when you want to build to something, you have to start small. You can't start big. You will fail. So start small. Set your expectations low, set your bar low, and work up from there. It will help so much. And appreciate the goals you've reached. Appreciate your accomplishments. Over the past 2 years, I made the transition from wanting actively to die to not wanting to live. That might not sound like much, but if you know, you know. If you've been through what I've been through and you relate to that, you get it, you understand that is drastically different. That is a huge difference. And I kind of shook it off. I shrugged it off for a while, like, okay, cool. I didn't really get it at first, but I get it now. And that's a big thing. It might sound small to a lot of people, but actively wanting to die versus not wanting to live is so different. It really is. So embrace those changes, embrace those moments, embrace that growth, because it is big. Maybe you're going to try sushi for the first time. You've never had it before. Ooh, what's that like? There's so many things that we don't do because of fear, because of expectation or whatever. Maybe we've put ourselves into a box because we think our personality is already set in stone. Guess what? You can be whoever you want to be. I mean, there are going to be certain things about you that are pretty consistent throughout most of your life. But from the day you're born until the day you die, you are being molded and changed as you grow. And that's a good thing. You shouldn't stay the same person your whole life. So maybe you're not the person you thought you were, and that's okay. You're allowed to develop new likes or new dislikes. You're allowed to like sushi now. I don't know why I keep bringing that up, but it's like, you don't have to be defined by something. You don't have to be. And I think that's something a lot of people struggle with, is wanting to be identified and defined by something. There's a lot of people that struggle with their identity, and they're constantly worried about making sure that they're known as something. I struggled with that for a long time too. But now I kind of just know I'm me. I'm Simon. And for me, to other people, that means a lot of things. If you hear the word Simon, most people go, oh, that's the movie guy. Oh, most people. When I say Simon to me, I don't think that's the movie guy. And you don't have to be, oh, that's the movie girl, or that's the anime guy, or that's the guy who only eats chicken nuggets. I don't know. Like, my point is, you don't have to be in a box, even if you created the box yourself, or your group of friends created this box for you, or whatever. You don't have to stay there. You can do whatever you want to do. You can. I mean, don't become a serial killer, but like you can branch out and learn new things and create new things and try new things, and maybe you'll be somebody drastically different than you are now by the end of it, but maybe you'll be a much happier version of you because of it. And that's okay. And here's the thing, you don't have to worry about what people think about that either. You don't have to worry about what people assume you are. You don't have to worry about what you identified as previously. You can change it. You don't have to worry about making sure everybody knows at all times who you are and what you stand for. You can just live. And maybe that will take a little bit of the pressure off too. So I know that this was long, and I know that I was rambling, and I said a lot of different things. So you're probably not going to remember everything I said, but that's okay, because maybe not everything will apply to you, and so you'll just remember the things that will actually help you. So I just want, like, I know this is kind of cheesy and cliche and stuff, but I just wanted to make this video because I wish that I had had more videos like this to watch when I was a kid. And that's always what I wanted to do on YouTube, is make the videos that I would want to have seen when, well, even now. Like, I make videos that I want to see, that if I was a subscriber I would want. So, and even if I'm not a subscriber, I would love for this to reach as many people as possible and to affect people, and I hope that it helps. I hope that it helps at least one person. So anyway, like, just to reiterate some stuff, like, because I said a lot, I think the most important thing is to be kind to yourself and to talk to yourself like a person, because you are a person. It's easy to forget that. It's easy to give everybody else you know so much more respect and love than you give yourself. You deserve it just as much as they do. And there is a lot of people out there that are going to be sad when you're gone. And if you get an opportunity to choose when you go, maybe push it off a little bit. Maybe for them, if that helps. But maybe for you. Because I think you deserve it. I do. I really do. I don't want to tell you what to do. But I think the world is probably a better place with you in it. Even if you don't think that. Maybe you don't think you've impacted the world. I bet you have. I bet you have more than you'll ever know. I don't think you need to have invented a light bulb to have impacted the world. I think you being a friend, being a relative, maybe creating something, an art that 10 people on Facebook liked, or Instagram, I'm old, I don't know, MySpace. I think that changes the world. I think that matters. I think you being happy matters. What is it worth? I can't tell you. But you can define how much it means to you. You can decide that. You can decide who you are. You can decide so much. So I hope you decide the right thing for you and for those around you. I can't tell you what it is. I can't tell you how to do it. I'm just giving you what's worked for me. So, yeah, to wrap it up, if you have anything to add, please leave a comment. If you have any advice for anybody else, go ahead and leave that too. Like I said, I don't have every answer. So maybe you have a really good answer that I don't know. Go ahead and leave that. I just want this to help as many people as possible. So, I hope it does. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being you. Thanks for sticking around. Love you.